My name is Hannah Reed and I am 29 years old. The first thing my older brother said when I reached for a glass of wine was, "Careful, that's not free. It's not like you chipped in." He said it loudly. Too loudly. Enough for the conversation at the long table to die down. Enough for every eye in the room to turn toward me. My mother looked at me briefly, then immediately smiled, pretending nothing had happened. "Well, you know how we are. Family comes first," she said softly, turning her attention back to him. As if it were a joke, as if it weren't a humiliation. I looked down at my plate. The food in front of me remained untouched. 3 weeks. I spent 3 weeks organizing this dinner. I chose the restaurant, I coordinated the menu, I discussed every single detail with the manager. I put down the deposit with my own card, but no one at that table knew it. Because I didn't want thanks, I just wanted one evening. Normal. Warm. Family. My brother always took my silence for weakness. He leaned back in his chair with that exact expression, smug, confident that he had put me in my place once again. And everyone waited. They waited for me to speak, to make excuses, to explain myself, just like I always did. But that night, something changed. I suddenly realized with complete clarity, any explanation was just another reason for them not to hear me. I nodded slowly, neatly folded my napkin, put on my coat, and walked out. In the lobby, it was quiet, cold, unfamiliar. I walked up to the front desk. "Please cancel the authorization on my card for this dinner." The manager, a man in his 90s with attentive eyes, frowned. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I am willing to lose the deposit, but I am not going to pay for this evening." He nodded. "I understand." A couple of minutes later, he was walking back to the dining room carrying the bill folder. I stayed by the glass doors, and I watched. Watched as everything began to crumble. Behind the glass, my brother was smiling at first. Then the manager said something and handed over the folder. The smile vanished. Instantly. My mother turned pale. Someone started flipping through the pages. And I knew this was only the beginning. 3 weeks earlier, my mother told me on the phone, "I don't need anything special. Just a quiet family dinner." I smiled. In our family, just never meant just. My brother immediately wrote in the family chat, "I'll organize everything." And then he disappeared. When the restaurant asked to confirm the booking, he was silent. When the deposit was due, silence. When the menu needed to be chosen, silence again. I had just gotten a promotion at work, so I decided this would be my gift. I paid the deposit, signed the contract, approved the basic menu, and texted my brother, "The reservation is confirmed, please send me any food preferences." He replied with a single emoji. An hour later, he posted in the chat, "Everything's under control. I arranged it all." And everyone started thanking him. My mother sent hearts. I stared at the screen a little longer than I should have. Why did this still hurt? It wasn't the first time. When I was 17, I organized my grandmother's anniversary. He told everyone it was his idea. At my graduation, he talked about how he helped me get my degree, even though we barely spoke. Every time I tried to tell the truth, I was called overly sensitive. Every time I stayed silent, his voice grew louder. Why did I keep hoping? Because I wanted just one thing. For my mother to look at me the way she looked at him, without comparison. Without condescension. Just with pride. Originally, the dinner was supposed to cost around $7,500. Then the changes started. Expensive wines, additional dishes, flowers, guests I didn't even know. Every time, the restaurant reached out to me, and every time my brother answered first saying, "Confirmed." I called the manager and said, "No changes without my personal consent." He apologized and locked it down. I only approved the flowers for Mom, the rest I rejected. "Why are you making everything so complicated?" my brother said over the phone. "Mom is turning 60. This is important." "You can pay for the upgrades yourself," I replied calmly. He laughed. "You always turn everything into money." That was when I realized he wanted to be the host without paying for it. On the night of the dinner, I arrived early. Red dress, neat hair. The manager showed me the final bill, $9,200. I signed, hid my copy, and asked, "Please don't announce who is paying." Of course. My brother arrived later, confident, loud. He immediately started bossing people around, moving place cards, giving directions, bragging about how much effort he had put in. I remained silent. I was trying to save the evening. He sat next to Mom, put me at the end of the table, I quietly swapped my card back. He raised an eyebrow. That seat is for the organizer. I looked him in the eye. Are you sure you want to enforce that rule? He smiled, thinking I was joking. By the first course, he was interrupting me. By the second, he was accepting compliments. By the main course, he had completely rewritten reality, and everyone believed it, even Mom. And then came that exact moment, that phrase about the food. About you didn't pay. And everything ended. When the bill landed on the table, the silence became heavier than air. This is a mistake, my brother said. The manager replied calmly, no, the payment was cancelled. Who paid before? Someone asked. He looked straight at them and said, the woman in the red dress. My mother slowly closed her eyes. My brother flipped through the pages. Amounts, signatures, details, reality. I stood outside. For the first time in years, I didn't need to explain anything. The truth walked into the room all on its own. Without me. Sometimes the best way to be heard is to stop speaking and let the consequences say everything for you. The door swung open sharply. I didn't even turn around. I just heard quick footsteps on the marble floor. Hannah, my mother's voice, broken. I turned around slowly. She was standing in the doorway, lost, pale, looking as if she had aged several years in a matter of minutes. Behind her stood my brother. The smug smile was gone. He looked different now. Real. What did you do? He asked. No mockery, no confidence. I looked at him calmly. I fixed the situation. He took a step forward. You set us up. I tilted my head slightly. No, I just stopped sailing you. A silence fell. A real one. Not awkward, but heavy. Truthful. My mother clasped her hands. Is it true? Did you pay for everything? I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because for the first time I realized I no longer needed to prove myself. The contract is in your folder, I said softly. My brother snatched it open again, flipping pages faster, his fingers trembling. The signature was mine. The date was mine. The payment was mine. He stopped and looked at me as if seeing me for the very first time. Why didn't you say anything? I smiled faintly, sadly. Because I wanted to do something nice, not for applause. My mother slowly sank into a chair by the wall. I thought. She didn't finish, but I knew. She thought he had done it. Like always. I took a deep breath. You didn't think. You chose to believe whoever spoke the loudest. Those words hung in the air and no one contested them. My brother ran a hand through his hair, completely out of control for once. It's just a misunderstanding. I shook my head. No, it's a system. He frowned. What do you mean? I stepped closer. You take, I do. You get the thanks. I stay quiet. Silence. And tonight you decided that wasn't enough. He looked away. And that was more important than any words. Relatives began coming out of the room one by one. First my aunt, then my cousin. Some were whispering, some avoided my eyes, but now everyone knew. Hannah, did you really organize all of this? My aunt asked softly. I nodded. She looked at my brother for a long time in complete silence. The manager stepped out behind them, calm and professional. I'm sorry, but the bill must be settled before the end of the evening. He wasn't looking at me, he was looking at them. My brother tensed up. How much? $9,200. At that moment, it became clear. The game was over. This is absurd, he said, but much quieter now. You wanted a gift for Mom, my mother added. I looked at her. I already gave it to her. A pause. But I am not obligated to pay for your disrespect. My mother suddenly stood up and walked over to me, slowly. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I looked her straight in the eyes and answered honestly for the first time. Because I hoped you would see it yourself. Her face twitched. And in that moment, something broke. Not in me, in her. My brother let out a heavy sigh. Fine, I'll pay. I wasn't surprised, he was always trying to save face, but it didn't change anything anymore. I took a step back. Don't bother. He frowned. What? Now it's your responsibility. I turned around and walked toward the exit. This time for good. Outside the air was cool, fresh, quiet. I took a deep breath. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not because I had proven the truth, but because I stopped living for someone else's approval. A few days later, my mother called. Her voice was cautious, uncharacteristically soft. Hannah, can we talk? I looked at the phone for a long, long time, and for the very first time, I didn't answer right away.